Hello lovelies, my name is Mamta and welcome to my channel GeekGlitz, in which I talk about all things geek and all things glitz. If you'd like to check out some of my past videos, go ahead and click right here. So today I'm continuing my Harry Potter reread series by covering chapters 5 and 6 from Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. I'll have links to the past chapters in the description if you wanted to check those out. I've been reading from my illustrated copy of the book, which has been an incredible way to experience the book again, and I'll get into some of my thoughts and show you some of my favorite illustrations as well. So here we go. I'll start with chapter 5, which is called Diagon Alley. And of course, this is a great chapter as Hagrid takes Harry into Diagon Alley to shop for his school supplies. So the chapter starts off with Harry and Hagrid waking up in the shack. Hagrid tells Harry they'll be going to Diagon Alley to shop, with the first stop being at Gringotts. Hagrid goes on about goblins and how to never mess with them, and how you'd be mad to try and rob Gringotts. So of course we know Harry does exactly that in Deathly Hallows. I wonder if that was always planned out by J.K. Rowling, because that is some extremely good foreshadowing. So anyway, they leave the shack without a sight of the Dursleys, and I think it's kind of mean that they just take the boat and leave the Dursleys there. How are they supposed to get back home? And as mean as the Dursleys are, this really bothers me. I wonder how long they were there before someone came looking for them. Like, who knows? So moving on, Harry and Hagrid get on the train, and Harry reads the list of stuff he'll need for Hogwarts. And there's a line here that caught my eye when reading this again. It says, students may also bring an owl or a cat or a toad. How was Ron allowed to bring a rat? Like, how is that possible? And how was Percy allowed to bring it before? I've actually been wondering about this for a while. They should be adding in a line in here that says special rats allowed for future plot points, right? I'm just kidding. Let's move on from this list. So anyway, Hagrid and Harry arrive at the Leaky Cauldron, and people start recognizing Harry as Harry Potter, and they all gather around him. I kind of wonder how they instantly recognized him, given that he's not been in the wizarding world. Maybe it's an assumption it has to be Harry, based on the fact that Hagrid is with him and says that he's on Hogwarts business. Because the first person to mention it is Tom the bartender, and he comes out of the bar to see Harry. So he must not have been so close to him in distance. So I don't think he could have seen his scar and recognized him from that. Especially if Harry's hair is always kind of messy and possibly covering his forehead. So yeah, I'm not sure why I'm obsessing about this, but they recognize Harry, and then Harry meets Quirrell, dun dun dun, meeting with the main villain of this book early on. Rowling's working her plot-building magic again, and I like it. So then, Harry and Hagrid enter Diagon Alley, and Harry can't believe his eyes, as he's trying to take in everything he sees. There's a line here which says, Harry wished he had 8 more eyes, and it's completely relatable. I imagine anyone who has never witnessed the magical world would want the exact same thing if they were in Diagon Alley. In fact, this is very similar to how I felt when I saw Diagon Alley in the Wizarding World theme park in Orlando. I remember just looking around like crazy, trying to just soak everything in. So yes, I completely feel Harry's amazement here. So Harry and Hagrid make their way to Gringotts to get Harry's money and to visit the mysterious Vault 713. And we meet Griphook the Goblin here. I really like how it comes full circle in the 7th book when we meet Griphook again. So we arrive at Harry's vault, and he's awestruck by his small fortune. It's a really great feel-good moment to see Harry have this fortune that he can call his own, especially given how he has been brought up with the Dursleys giving him just the bare minimum. So then we visit Vault 713, and Hagrid gets a mysterious package which Harry is curious about, but then they head out of Gringotts. And Harry heads to Madame Malkin's shop to get his robes, and encounters none other than Draco Malfoy. And he's such a little snob here with his comments about Muggleborns and being rude about Hagrid. I'm really glad that Harry saw right through all of it. So then Harry and Hagrid continue their shopping of Harry's school supplies, and I love how Hagrid has to stop Harry from spending his money on crazy stuff like a solid gold cauldron. I think it's hilarious that Harry even wants a gold cauldron. So flashy. And then Hagrid buys Harry an owl as a birthday present, and Harry is so grateful. It's really sweet how kind Hagrid is to Harry. And then finally, Harry goes to Ollivander's to get his wand. It's kind of hilarious how there are such strange measurements required for getting a wand, like measuring around Harry's head or between his nostrils. I wonder how those measurements actually help in choosing which wands to try on. It's quite fascinating, actually. But anyway, Harry tries several wands, and then he finally is chosen by one that happens to have a tail feather from a phoenix, fox, that also gave another tail feather that was in Voldemort's wand as well. This is another example of Rowling's brilliant plot building, because it's amazing that this exact moment is what sets up the future moments with the connection between Harry and Voldemort's wands. And then Harry and Hagrid leave Diagon Alley and part ways in the underground, with Hagrid giving Harry his Hogwarts Express ticket, and that is the end of the chapter. So definitely quite an eventful chapter, and a brilliant one. So let's move on to chapter 6, the journey from platform 9 3/4, in which Harry finally makes his way to Hogwarts. So the chapter begins with describing Harry's last month at the Dursleys, and how he's pretty much ignored now by everyone. But at least he has Hedwig for company and his new school books to read through. I think it's pretty funny how Dudley is so scared of Harry now that he runs away screaming whenever Harry enters a room. It's a pretty funny sight to imagine. So anyway, Uncle Vernon agrees to give Harry a ride to King's Cross Station on September 1st and even helps him with his luggage and takes him to platform 9 and 10. But of course, he has an ulterior motive. It seems like he just wanted to have the last word before leaving and pointing out to Harry that there's no such thing as platform 9 3/4. He basically just ups and leaves Harry there, and Harry sees him driving off laughing with Petunia and Dudley. So this whole exchange bothers me for several reasons. It again, of course, shows that the Dursleys are terrible. Vernon basically is just abandoning a child at a station without a care about where he ends up. And then the other thing I caught while reading this is that Petunia basically is pretending this whole time that she doesn't know about platform 9 3/4. Like in the scene where Harry mentions the station to his aunt and uncle, they just stare back at him like he's talking nonsense. Petunia's even been there, as we know from the scene in the Prince's Tale chapter from Deathly Hallows, where she drops off Lily with her parents, so she obviously knows that it's real. It just makes me imagine that how different it would have been if Harry's aunt would have actually been a good motherly figure for him and would have cared for him and given him guidance. Like, she had the information here, but just chose not to give Harry a clue about anything and just pretended like he was nuts. And that's just horrible in my opinion. So thankfully, Harry runs into the Weasleys for the first time, and Molly very kindly guides Harry on how to get onto the platform. And when he's on it, he's again greeted by the magic of the wizarding world hiding within the Muggle world. And that transition between going from the Muggle to the magical world just never gets old for me. So Harry gets on the train, and the Weasley twins help him out with his trunk, and recognize him as Harry Potter because of his scar. And then Harry watches the Weasleys from his train seat as they interact with each other. I totally can understand why Harry was fascinated while watching them. It's his first time seeing a wizarding family, so he's definitely curious. And then Ron comes and joins Harry in his compartment, and it's the beginning of their friendship, as they both start talking and sharing sweets. It's actually a wonderful moment for Harry, because he finally has his first real friend. And one of my favorite lines from this section is when Harry tells Ron that in the Muggle world, people stay put in photos, and Ron's like, "What? They don't move at all? Weird." It's just fascinating to see what's considered weird when growing up in the wizarding world. And then one by one, Harry and Ron encounter Neville, who's looking for his toad, Hermione, who comes in like a blast and makes them feel insecure about their knowledge, and then Draco with Grab and Coil, who actually offers Harry friendship now that he knows he's famous and all. Harry, of course, rejects him, and an almost fight breaks out in which Scabbers actually bites Goyle, which is pretty hilarious. So finally, the train stops, and the first years follow Hagrid on the boats as they approach Hogwarts, and Harry finally sees the castle. The chapter ends with Hagrid knocking on the castle door. So this was a great chapter, and it was a pretty iconic and eventful train ride in which Harry meets his best friends and establishes his school nemesis, and then arrives at Hogwarts. So I'm just going to go through a couple of my favorite images from these chapters. There's 2 consecutive layouts in which we see the storefronts in Diagon Alley. The details are pretty amazing, like this one with the furniture and mugs and cups and stuff stacked impossibly high, and then this one covered in plants and vines of all sorts. It's just amazing to see the thought behind the depiction of each storefront. Then there's a great picture of Draco in which we see him being measured for his school robes. I love the detail of the floating measuring tape. And then there's this image showing the Hogwarts Express and the scene at platform 9 3/4 with Harry and his trunk and Hedwig. I love the details on this with the owls flying around and the people in the background. Then there's also this brilliant image of Albus Dumbledore. He looks incredible, and I love the detail of him eating sherbet lemons. And there's knitting needles too on the corner, which is great. And then finally this image that's like a silhouette of Hogwarts through the fog, and it's pretty impressive. So there you have it. This was a relook at chapters 5 and 6 from Philosopher's Stone. For my next reread video, I will cover chapters 7 and 8, and I'll announce it on my social media when I'm about to release that video. So let me know in the comments what you thought of this video, and if there were any moments from chapters 5 and 6 that stood out for you. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and please subscribe to my channel GeekGlitz for more things geek and more things glitz, as I make videos every week. And feel free to connect with me on all my other social media, which I've listed below in the description. Thank you for watching, lovelies. See you in the next video. Bye!